Good evening, friends and neighbors and friends. How's everybody feeling on a Monday night? Pretty good, I hope. Some of you, especially those of you young guys, you might not have had a Valentine with you for Valentine's Day this year. Well, as I've said in the written blog, maybe you don't actually need one. Okay? Before you have a Valentine, meaning somebody that you love really deeply, you got to make sure you love yourself first. That's where the 4 pillars come in. That's where a little bit of time alone can be used constructively. Maybe you know people who are out whining and dining and painting the town red for Valentine's Day. Well, while they're having surf and turf, get yourself some Taco Bell and pig out a little bit because you can. Okay? You can take advantage of the time you have. Not lonely, I wouldn't call it that. I wouldn't even really call it solitude either, but you can use your time with yourself constructively. You could adapt the 4 pillars to your basic daily mantras. You could work on what's great about you. Before you go around broadcasting, like me, about what's great about you, you could broadcast it internally to yourself. And that way the love, as it were, will only be able to be paid forward. You have to love yourself before you can love anybody else. And the notion of being with somebody when you don't really have that going on for yourself, that's just wrong. That's part of the reason why the divorce rate is more than 50% of marriages these days. If you're a young guy nowhere near marriage, you want to get that stuff correct before it comes down to walking down the aisle well in advance, please. And you may remember a couple years ago on the blog, I demonstrated with my many talents of how there are different ways you can handle Valentine's Day if you're single. You can do it like Johnny Cash and talk about the Folsom Prison Blues and be all depressing and bitter and morose as the man in black, going after that papa who named you Sue. Or you could handle it like Barry White and talk about all kinds of love. It could be romantic love, it could be sensuous love, but most importantly, it's about self-love. Oh. Had to pull it close because it's hard for me to project in that lower register, but you'll notice that the voices of Johnny Cash and Barry White weren't too far off. But I think it's a little more constructive, even if you don't have a Valentine, to think of Valentine's Day the way Barry White would. Even if you don't have that one person to love, you can love yourself. And by this time next year, you could have a very, very sweet lady by your side. Oh, baby. So, take these voices to heart, and definitely take the 4 pillars to heart. And just remember, you exist, you matter, and definitely you belong and you deserve. And if the rest of the crew doesn't know that yet, make sure you know it, and then they will eventually. Good night, everybody!